NASA says the 4 astronauts on board its Artemis II moon mission are safe, secure and in great spirits following their successful launch from Florida. They are performing various checks to ensure the reliability and safety of the Orion spacecraft that has never carried humans before. This was the moment it lifted off.
4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Well, it's carrying 4 astronauts on the first crewed flight to the moon in more than 50 years. The 3 Americans and 1 Canadian are aiming to make a 10-day flight circling around the far side of the moon and returning to Earth. Earlier, NASA officials said there had been a temporary loss of communications, but all was now well. Our science editor, Rebecca Morell, was at the launch site as the mission began.
Their names will go down in history. Jeremy Hansen, Victor Glover, Reed Wiseman and Christina Cook. An emotional farewell to their families. And it was time to make their way to the top of their 100-metre tall rocket. They've spent years training for this, but now at last they're doing it for real.
RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon.
Wow! Oh my goodness! That is spectacular. It's not just what you see and you hear as the rocket lifts off. You can actually feel the force of it through your body. This is the most powerful rocket that NASA has ever built. Wow! And it needs to be, because it's taking astronauts a quarter of a million miles away to the moon.
Approaching max Q.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce Leon. Have you the same?
1 minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%.
NASA gave an update on the mission and crew soon after liftoff.
They're secure and they're in great spirits. We will continue to monitor their health and the status as we move into the next phase of the Artemis II mission. So after a brief 54-year intermission, NASA is back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal.
The Orion spacecraft is now orbiting the Earth, with Commander Reed Wiseman in contact with Mission Control.
We have a beautiful moonrise. We're headed right at it.
The astronauts are checking out their spacecraft to make sure everything is working properly. A few issues have cropped up, a brief communications dropout and a problem with the toilet. NASA says it will take the crew a little while to acclimatise.
Flight day 1 and flight day 2, you might not feel like eating a lot. Your body is acclimating to 0G, and it takes a little bit of adapting. So right now they're working hard. They are doing what they need to do.
Once the checks are complete, the next stop will be the moon. A new era of space exploration has begun. Rebecca Morell at the Kennedy Space Center, Florida.
Some pictures that have come through in the last hour show the Artemis II mission blast off from a different perspective. Jack Radutsky took these amazing pictures from the seat of a passenger plane. That's a flight to remember, it really is. Let's speak to Dr. Hina Khan. She's a former space scientist with NASA. It must be with great joy that you watch these pictures, Dr. Khan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was on the edge of my seat last night when I was watching the rocket go off late in the afternoon in Florida, but late night here in the UK, and it was just phenomenal. I couldn't contain my excitement, so to speak, kind of watching in bated breath and really kind of watching to make sure everything went well, and thankfully it did. It's been a phenomenal journey so far, but only the beginning.
Yes, indeed. And NASA returning to what it was designed to do, and that is missions to the moon. Where does Artemis sit then, this Artemis II mission, within the wider project?
So you're absolutely right. This is and we heard in the piece that you just played there from the NASA administrator that this is back in the business of going to the moon. But here it's different, where the Apollo missions were very much about a space race to get to the moon on the exploration of what is beyond our planet and how do we get to the further reaches. This mission, the Artemis mission, is how do we sustain that? How do we actually use the moon as an asset, as an opportunity to get into further deep space, but also to really understand the value that the moon has for us here on Earth and what we can gather from that.
What's the value then of going to the other side of the moon, the farthest that humans have ever travelled?
So yeah, this has been an interesting. So this is a side of the moon that we don't see when we look up into the sky. We only ever see one face of the moon. The far side of the moon is perpetually in darkness for us. And in previous missions, we've had landers that have gone to the moon, and we've taken some imagery of the far side of the moon. And there's been some really interesting geological, information, and also the way the land is and the type of minerals that are there. There's also been the suggestion that perhaps there has been previously water on the moon in the South Polar region. And so this is an opportunity with the technology that we now have to take some really detailed images and do analysis on what that far side of the moon looks like and how adept it would be to providing, creating a settlement or looking for other aspects that would be of use here on Earth.
With Mars being the next project potentially?
Yeah, we've got to take this in stages. We've talked a lot about going to Mars, some individuals more than others. It's not an easy task. I mean, even the moon, this is a 10-day mission, and it's a flyby. And even this mission, Artemis II, will be the furthest into space that humans will ever have traveled intentionally. I think the Apollo 13 mission was the previous holder of that record, and that was because of an anomaly that they had on their mission trajectory. So that's really important, because we need to understand how humans and how people adapt in these deep space missions. So this mission is very much about gathering that data. There's going to be a lot of kind of analysis on the astronauts themselves. There's a lot of data being collected on their well-being, on their health and physiology, and that's really important because the moon is a few days away. Mars is months and months, potentially, a several year mission in order to get there, be on the surface or do some tests and then come back to the Earth. So it's a very long time and not something that should be taken lightly.
Yeah, it wouldn't suit everybody either. You've got to pick your astronauts wisely, haven't you? Dr. Hina Khan, I'm sure we'll speak to you again. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Now, let's go live to the Kennedy Space Centre and speak to our science editor, Rebecca Morell. Have you got over this extraordinary sight that you've just seen, Rebecca?
I mean, it really was a spectacle. I mean, this is just such a big rocket, and just the idea that you've got 4 human beings sitting right at the top of it, strapped in. I mean, it was amazing to watch from down here on Earth, but the ride for those astronauts must have been pretty crazy for them. But yeah, it was fantastic to see.
And the opportunity to take off, you can't really overstate how many different elements have got to come together all at the right moment.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, rockets are complex machines with thousands of moving parts. And, this isn't without a risk either. The rocket was filled with millions of litres of explosive fuel, and you've got 4 astronauts on board. You have to make sure that everything is working absolutely perfectly, because if it's not, you've got to stay on the ground. So there have been problems with the Artemis rocket before in dress rehearsals where they practiced putting the fuel in, but this time it all worked to perfection, and they're on their way. And the astronauts at the moment, so they're in a high orbit around the Earth. They're spending their first day there, and they're going to be checking out the spacecraft, checking the communication systems, the navigation systems, the life support systems, because this is a spacecraft that's never had humans in before, and they want to make sure that everything is working absolutely perfectly before they begin their journey to the moon. That's going to be a decision made by Mission Control in Houston, and they have had a bit of an issue with the loo on board, the toilets on board their spacecraft. That was within the first few hours, but I'm relieved to tell you that the toilet is now functioning perfectly well, which is handy.
But just that little snippet tells you that there's no place to hide, is there? When you're on a rocket like this, every single facet of your life is under scrutiny.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the capsule they're in, it is a little bit more roomy than the capsules that took the Apollo astronauts on their missions to the moon, but it's still really cramped in there, and everything inside the capsule is really carefully designed. So, you know, they have an exercise machine called a flywheel device. It's a bit like a sort of rowing machine, but that also doubles up as a step. The toilet is actually under the floor, although when you're in space, the floor becomes the ceiling or the side, so maybe that doesn't matter so much, but there's not much privacy. I mean, they are living, eating, working, sleeping, you know, velcroing their sleeping bags to various bits of the capsule when they want a snooze. So it's a pretty intimate procedure. But one of the really nice things that the astronauts said, you know, in preparation for this, they actually had some sleepovers together to ensure they were all happy living side by side for a long period of time. But they do seem to get on well. I mean, when you've seen them together, it's clear how well they know each other and how much they like each other.
I wonder if you snore in space. That's a question for them when they come back. Rebecca, thank you very much. Rebecca Morello, Science Editor in Florida. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.